आपको बराह रास्त लिए चलेंगे। चीफ जस्टिस आसिफ सईद खोसा इस वक्त तकरीब से खिताब कर रहे हैं।
Inspectors General who have been a source of great inspiration as well as guidance for us in the Police Reforms Committee. Their experience has really shown us the way, and we are ever so grateful to them for their time, for their effort, and for their input. The other members of the police force who have gathered here from all over the province of Punjab, respectable media persons, families of the Shuhada, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My association with the police dates back to the year 1976, when I was a student and my eldest brother, Mr. Khosa, joined the Punjab Police. And as he progressed in his profession in the police department, we also had greater and greater involvement through him, till such time that in the year 1989, I had a direct interaction with the police when I was invited to speak to the under-training officers at the National Police Academy, Islamabad. And that was a year when I didn't know that after so many years, this year will come back to me. And I recall that some of the under-training officers in that 1989 batch, and I had the privilege to address them on that occasion, they are now the senior most police officers in the entire country, and some of them are inspectors general in different provinces, and some of them are present in this ceremony today. My third interaction with police has been throughout my career as a lawyer and my career as a judge. I had been dealing with criminal cases most of the times, and in every criminal case, it's the working of the police which comes in issue, and then you start developing an insight not only as how police works, but what are the pitfalls in the working of the police, which are the areas which need improvement. And then I was very fortunate when I came to this office, to this job, then a police reforms committee had already been constituted by my very honorable predecessor, Mr. Justice Mia Saqib Nisar, the then Honorable Chief Justice of Pakistan. So I inherited this position as the chairman of the Police Reforms Committee. But immediately after coming into this office, we got going with the help of the retired Inspectors General and the serving Inspectors General. And ever since, we have remained quite busy, and we have launched a number of initiatives. As the Chief Justice, I have launched many initiatives, not only in the police department, but in the information technology, as far as the Supreme Court and High Courts are concerned. Then we have launched model courts for expeditious delivery of justice in criminal cases. We have also established gender-based violence courts. And I'll focus mainly today on whatever we have been trying to do in the police department and in the criminal justice sector from that angle. But before I come to that, I want to share with you that my first priority when I became the Chief Justice was to restore dignity of all those who appear before courts. Not only the litigants, but also the officers of different departments, and particularly the officers belonging to the police department. As a judge of the High Court and then as a judge of the Supreme Court, I had personally witnessed some incidents in which officials coming to the courts at different times, I'm not blaming anybody, but this was the prevalent practice, that somehow officials appearing before the courts were not treated with that much dignity as they deserved. And sometimes the situation was absolutely unbearable. And hats off to the members of the police who belonged to a disciplined force. They never responded. They just bore with it. They just lived with it and kept on showing respect and dignity to the court, and as was expected. So my first priority was that we should ensure that a court works as a court, and anybody appearing before the court, and particularly members of a disciplined force, once they appear, they should be afforded due dignity and respect, whatever be the nature of the case, circumstances of a case. The dignity, which is a fundamental right under Article 14 of the Constitution, cannot be violated. The Constitution says dignity of man is inviolable. And I'm going to share something with you which so far nobody knows except the Supreme Judicial Council, that one very senior judge of the High Court was proceeded by the Supreme Judicial Council only on the allegation that he had humiliated and insulted a police official in the court proceedings. So that was a message that we sent straight away, that everybody is to be entitled to dignity, and whatever be his calling, whatever be his job, once he appears in the court, he is to be accorded due respect and treated with dignity. That we have already achieved to a greater extent, and incidents of officers being treated rashly or not properly have reduced to a great extent, and we are still looking into it, that no such incident takes place at all, not just with police officers, but with anybody who appears in a court of law or anywhere else. As far as the Police Reforms Committee is concerned, I'll also, before that, I'll tell you another thing, that ever since I became Chief Justice, whenever something happened in the country which took notice of the public at large, there was an outcry that the Chief Justice should take suo motu notice. I realized that because of the activism of some of my very respectable seniors, the departments themselves were already on toes. And whenever any incident took place, immediately all the concerned officials would reach the spot, respond to the situation, take the matter into hands. And this is what the court was expected to do, even if a notice had been taken by the court, that those officials, those departments were to be activated by the court, but the real work was to be done by the court, by those officials themselves. So if the officials are already efficient, if they are already doing their job, if they are already attending to an emerging situation, then there was no need for the court to jump in. There were times when an incident would take place in the evening. During night time, a notice was taken by the court, and in the morning, all the senior officers would be running to Islamabad to appear before the Supreme Court, rather than going to the place of occurrence and attending to the situation that had been created. So that, I thought, was not correct. And if the officials are not responding, if the situation is not being tackled, then somebody has to nudge them, somebody had to activate them. Yes, in such a situation it could be justified that the court intervenes. But now that whenever any incident takes place, all the senior officers everywhere in every concerned department are active, even in matters relating to police. The IGs, the DIGs, and everybody is active, and the political administration executive also intervenes, and they are active. So there was hardly any need for the Supreme Court to jump in at a premature stage, particularly when the Supreme Court is a court of last resort? How can it afford to become the court of first resort, a matter, an institution of first resort? Now something had to ripen up, something has to mature, then investigation is to take place, trial is to take place, appeal is to take place, and then the matter will come to the Supreme Court. And if we interfere on day one, then the whole process of justice will be retarded. That will be reversed, and that's never conducive to the interests of justice. I have seen some cases, I've handled some cases in which many years ago some notices were taken on some incidents, and it was declared at that time by the Supreme Court that this is a case of terrorism and an FIR should be registered and trial should take place on the basis of such a declaration by the Supreme Court. Later on it transpired that the case was merely a case of private enmity or a private grievance. So it was argued before us when the matter came up in appeal that this is not a case of terrorism, and our hands were tied. We could not say that it's not a case of terrorism because the judgment had already...